In the evolving geopolitical theater of Eastern Europe, Moscow has recently broadcast cautious signals hinting at a potential recalibration of its approach toward the war in Ukraine, rather than an outright retreat. Sources close to the Kremlin suggest that President Vladimir Putin is evaluating the prospect of a negotiated resolution, but only if it cements Russia's strategic supremacy and redraws the contours of European security. These overtures, while cloaked in diplomatic language, reflect a deeper ambition: Moscow's desire to halt NATO's encroachment into its historical sphere of influence. This echoes not just a regional power play, but the reawakening of Cold War-era tensions in a multipolar world bracing for instability. Putin's conditions for de-escalation are deliberately unyielding. As reported by the Financial Times and Reuters, Russian officials have emphasized that any meaningful dialogue hinges on a written Western pledge to block further NATO expansion into former Soviet republics. Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova, each aspiring to closer integration with the West, would be permanently excluded from the alliance. This directly challenges NATO's foundational principle of allowing sovereign nations to determine their alliances. The Kremlin also demands Ukraine's permanent neutrality, the unfreezing of sanctioned Russian assets, and protections for Russian-speaking minorities in eastern Ukraine. Non-starters for Kyiv and its Western backers, who view such terms as tantamount to surrender. U.S. President Donald Trump, an outspoken critic of prolonged American engagement overseas, has reportedly pushed for an immediate ceasefire. According to the Wall Street Journal, Trump recently engaged in an extended private call with Putin, encouraging him to resume peace talks with Kyiv. Yet, almost simultaneously, Russia intensified its offensives in Donetsk and Kharkiv, casting doubt on its sincerity. Trump's public rhetoric has oscillated between chastising Putin's reckless aerial campaign and blaming entrenched deep state actors within U.S. institutions for obstructing diplomacy. While Trump insists he can broker peace swiftly if re-elected, critics argue his leniency may embolden Russia's maximalist demands. Within the Kremlin, military escalation is still viewed as a tool to amplify diplomatic leverage. A senior Russian insider told Reuters that without pressure, the West won't concede anything meaningful. This strategy of using battlefield dominance as a negotiating chip has prolonged the war and amplified the humanitarian toll. Meanwhile, Ukraine remains defiant. President Volodymyr Zelensky reaffirmed in a recent speech that only Ukrainians would determine their country's future. European leaders have echoed this position, warning that any concessions to Moscow could set a dangerous precedent for other expansionist regimes.